Good morning, my dear colleagues. 18 minutes is very, very short to explain what happened in 1 year, so I will try my best. So what would you say if you have around 800 systems, each of them with different structures, different names of the data, and you have to combine them because you need to report and analyze for your tax authorities, for your sector to show that you're compliant, and even for European laws that you also are compliant. On top of that, you need to use those 800 systems somehow to do analytics so that you know your customers, you launch new products, you use digital services in a good way because you want to be just the best. What we do. Not easy, right? Well, I work at Folksam. Folksam is the biggest insurance company in Sweden. We have 10 insurance companies within the concern, the group, and there are two main groups, life and risk insurance types. Around 47.9 billion Swedish crowns in prime volume 2016, 400 billion Swedish crowns in assets under management, and 4 million customers, 3,700 employees. What does this mean? Large and complex. Okay, so 5 years ago, they decided to modernize this company and do many initiatives to do that. This is one of them, not the only one. So it was implemented the model-driven architecture. I guess many of you are very familiar with this way of working, right? Only one, two, three. Okay, certainly comes more. So it's it's an approach to use models to do all the way until creating physical artifacts. That means that we use a model to do the analysis in business or in operations, to settle down the requirements, to do the design, how to complete the requirements or how to solution the requirements, and even to depict and deploy the design. So every time you need to do a development of software, you start any part of the company, you have your organization, you have many needs. Certainly, economy says, I have an idea, I have a new project. And then you start with that project, and you go all the way, all these steps with your models, and then you do the solution, and you design it. And then another part of the company comes with other ideas of development of the software, 800 systems, and then do another. And then next. What happened at the end? This is a good approach? Yes, it was it was better, it was more efficient in many ways, but still you are creating down pipes where the infrastructure, the structure of the data is different for every of the solutions. So this was good, but not enough. So how can we do then? Solution. According to Gartner, I guess many of you know Gartner, is a big research IT institution that has a lot of best practices and recommendations. And they say, okay, if you want to avoid this debate about the meaning of the data, what is the names and the confusion and all information inconsistency, one of the things you need to do first is to decide what is your own vocabulary, your common vocabulary. And give concrete examples so that everybody knows exactly the meaning of that vocabulary. And help the people that will use this vocabulary and these models to implement it and to use it correctly. Well, that is how I came into this story. Folksam employed me for 1 year ago. My name is Ruth Sommar, as the presenter says, and I was hired to help them to implement this metadata model. That means information about our data. Data, good, but if you don't know the name of your data, and that really is the same thing, you are talking in different systems, very hard to do any analytics. So metadata. And also, they hired me not only to put it into place, but also help all people that will use this to actually use it. Of course, this is not only one person's job. There are many with me in this. I am the responsible for that, but I have tried to involve, or must be involved, many at the company. I have here 4 of my colleagues that actually has been involved in this. So, just as a background, I've been half of my professional life involved in optimization, quality, total quality management, and operation management. And the other half, I've been in enterprise architecture since I made a specialization in my PhD just in this area, enterprise architecture. So you can see I am not an IT. I don't consider myself an IT people, but more interested to the business and the needs from the business. So that has been a lot my approach. Of course, the first thing to do is to explain why this is important and what we will get when we implement it. If people don't understand what you can get, what is there for me? If you don't give anything for them, they will not accept it. So very clear, what are the benefits? So one of the benefits, of course, is easier communication, consistency of information reporting and analytics, and better collaboration among different departments. Next is flexibility, because if you have this collaboration, this consistency, it's much easier, it's much shorter, faster to do the IT development. And that means that the requirement task will be much effective and easier. If this is easier, that means shorter lead time for software development and more efficiency, less cost. So at the end, is money, right? When you can show with a use case, with that business case, how much money you will save, then is when people say, now we are talking. So these are the 3 main motivations to do all this work. So what is a common information model? A common information model expresses the information about the data, or the main data we have, as what? What is a customer? What is a product? What is a service? What means a claim? And so on. And the relationship between these concepts. So, difficult to take the whole elephant at once, so you divide the elephant in different groups, and that is called the cluster, information clusters, or information domains. And these are some of them. Party, you see, agreement, and so on. And in each of these clusters, you find definitions, you find relationships between these data objects. And of course, that will give you a conceptual view of your company, where you have this logical relationship among these objects, and that you can use and reuse and reuse. That's the main and the key idea, to have something that is valid and that you can reuse, so that you don't do an information model every project. And that is what will give you the efficiency and the flexibility. Which data we are talking about? Of course, the data you are using in your processes, nothing more. So I really would love to link data with processes. We are not there yet, but it will be maybe in the future. And how this will then change our approach of model data architecture, model-driven architecture. This is what I presented before, where you have these dumb pipes. And with a new approach, That means you have here a reference, and this reference will give that between your requirements and your design, you reuse this common information model to continue. And what is the result? That whatever you have here have a reference of this middle common model, and then you understand what you have in each of these systems. The more you do this, of course, the more you know exactly what you have in each of your systems. So that's the main idea, the main thing. And all these terms, all the relations among them, and the logical view of these objects is what we say is our common information model. Why is called GIM? Because it's in Swedish, Gemensam informationsmodell. So, but okay, let's start. We do it. Are we going to start from zero? No. There are people that has done this information model for certain companies, sort of like standards, and we decided to buy one of them to do the implementation, instead to do it from the beginning. I can tell you that before I came to Folksam, I have done this from zero in other companies. So it's possible, yeah, it's possible, but it takes more time. So if you buy and you stay adapted, then it will be shorter, but have also seen some problems. So what is this model? It's called IIW because it's an information insurance warehouse, and it's part of a bigger architecture. In that architecture, there is also, There is also this view, processes and services and product. And we have the information architecture. But that is the part we bought and the part we are using. The other part of the EIAA, which is the total architecture, we are not using. So I will focus just on these parts. So how can we do the action plan? The action plan has been divided into two, and the design is that, first of all, we need to know the content of the common information model. And that means go from as is, where we have different models at our company that has been done, more specific for specific systems, and even we have this new one that we bought. And go to a new to be, where we have just this common information model as a reference, and that can be the one to put all the others together. And we need to prioritize where of these clusters that I mentioned before is we need to start with, and not all at the same time. So that is the content of the information model. But the other part is how, what is called the process, the implementation itself. And for that, we need first a framework to know, okay, who is going to use this model? It will be data warehouse, will be integration of the systems, it will be metadata, unstructured data, for what we are using this common information model. So, and for different uses, different approaches. And then exactly what are the steps to do that? So design the process, implement it, and then try to refine that process with whatever we find didn't work. And next is who is going to do that? Are enough the roles we have today? We need to create maybe a new roles, or who is going to be in charge of what? And finally, what are the tools we are going to use? And how these tools will be governed and managed. So this is our main roadmap. And from that roadmap, I will show you a little bit some of the things we have done so far. And first of all is this content. And the content is, okay, we design it. We divide the elephant in 24 clusters or 24 information domains. These are those. For each of them, within each of them, we put from IBM, the part that is within just that specific domain. And they are the objects. For each of those data objects, you have a relation to the concepts, to the terms, to your vocabulary, your terminology. So every data object has a relation to the terms and the business. That's the content. But we need to transform the IIW model we bought to no. Really? Okay, I needed then to, it's very, very, okay. So we transform it, and when we transform it, the first version is exactly equal. The second, but we need to decide the notation, the language, and then for every time we start using and adapting the model will be new versions launched. And now I think I need to, for these steps, I have many of how the procedure has been done, and we have used 3 different roles. As I said to you before, we have many different approaches for each of these areas where the models will be used, but now we are focusing on 2, data warehousing and integration. And we need to talk about how to govern the models. We have done a lot of how the projects will use and seed the models, and how these will change back and will go back and return to our common information model. And for every project, we have 2 tools. One is AGC, the information catalog, that will be used more for operations, but then IT will use a repository where you can use the models to design, for design. And from that, we can do the deployment, okay? And depending on what you are talking about, integration or storage, you will do different approaches. But now I will, not time for this, but mainly I have, here are another new role, data steward, that we have for each of these clusters. One data steward will be in charge, so that they are the ones taking new suggestions to develop the model. And for all these are the new roles, and the new roles has been specified, and some people has been assigned. That's very difficult to see who is in charge of what, but this has been, and in 2 areas, in 2 clusters, this has been trained too. And finally, the tools. The tools are very important because specifically you need to decide how the models will be used, what are, the parts, even if you use colors, what does they mean, how the different parts of the models copy to each other, where to put the definitions, where the links, what does they mean, how you find the information, and the relation to the original model, which is the IBM model, and how these tools will be governed. And that means the governance must be from a repository where it's just the model exactly as they should be. It will be published, and then will be put in this operations production part, and from that will be again harvest.
Thank you so much.
I just want to show you one slide. This is the one I have, because this is one of the learnings we have done with this year, and that many of the things designed has been adapted according to the maturity of the people and according to what is create confidence.
Thank you. Please give a big hand to Ruth.